Yo, what's up, guys? It's Rarin. I'm with Rob on Front Row Live.
Congratulations with the new EP, the debut mixtape, Toxic Ends. And I want to know, like, what really kickstarted the idea and the writing process for this entire mixtape for you?
Honestly, it was mainly just like the buildup of music. Like I started piling on a lot of songs that I thought were really good, and I just wanted to push out like a big project. Just as kind of like a highlight of my work. I kind of just wanted to like show. I wanted to make a project to kind of like show how hard I've worked, and kind of also use that to show a message. Because I feel like singles and just dropping like one song at a time, a lot of listeners just look through the meaning. And I feel like if you drop a project, it's more of a significant drop, so people will pay more attention to it. Um, so like I've been previously before this album, I've been dropping kind of more fun songs. And then I mean some songs did have meaning, but they were mostly just like they weren't as deep. And there wasn't I didn't really focus on the meaning too much. And I kind of took this album to focus on that, to kind of have more purpose and kind of like um, I was just more strategic about how I did it, just so I can kind of like convey my message and whatnot.
Did you know the identity of the mixtape as you were starting to write it, or is this something that kind of like showed up as you were in the writing process of the entire project?
Honestly, I mean, I didn't like sit down and be like, all right, I'm gonna make a mixtape. Let's start with the first song. I selected the songs after I kind of came up with the idea, and then I filled in any blanks. But the first thing that came to this mixtape was the name. I knew I was gonna call it Toxic Ends. I thought like that's what it's about, and that's just giving up moving on from like negativity and just kind of putting that in the past. I feel like that's something me and a lot of other people I've met like see day to day, and I feel like that kind of brings down our generation a lot, and quite frequently. So I felt like it was very clear for me what this album should be about, and it was just a matter of kind of choosing the right songs and making sure like the listeners actually like seeing what this is about and kind of paying attention.
Now, did you come into this wanting these 9 tracks, or is this something that you also kind of figured out as you were going through the process? And how difficult was it for you to nail it to just those 9 tracks?
Um, well, at first it was supposed to be an EP. It was supposed to be like 6 songs, and then I wanted to call it an album again, so like people would kind of treat it as like this bigger drop. And then I just wanted to drop more music, so we extended it. I was just getting too excited. But I guess the hardest part wasn't selecting the songs, because I do make a lot of music and I did have a good amount of options. But I think the hardest part was just bringing everything together. Like 9 songs, even if they have similar meanings to the listener, they're not going to really see the connection. And it's kind of the leading up to the album, kind of you're making sure like that your listeners know what you're talking about, and then when it drops, like they're gonna be like listening through the lyrics and be like, oh, okay, that's what he meant. That makes sense now. So it's kind of like I feel like the hardest part about dropping an album is like making sure your message is heard, because I think in this generation a lot of people just focus on the music, um, and I think picking out the music and doing the music, that's the easy part. I think the harder part is like the business end, where it's like the business and kind of the more personable end, where like you have to connect with an audience, not just give them music.
Now, as far as your songwriting goes, how do you feel that your songwriting impacts your cadence, or do you feel it's the other way around? Your cadence impacts your songwriting.
Um, I think they work hand in hand. Like, uh, they honestly both depend on my emotion. So it's like my emotion is kind of like they're dependent on that. Uh, and that's why like when I started making music, I would start making more sad stuff. and kind of just not fast paced, not a beat. One because I wasn't like the happiest, but also because I just didn't have that confidence. Like I wanted to like mask my voice with, auto tune or reverb or just kind of like these very sad beats. Whereas like now I'm way more comfortable kind of like my voice being the highlight of the song, not the beat. But I think they both go hand in hand.
And in saying that, how did you learn to sing the way that you do and kind of rap the way that you do throughout your music? Just because just listening to the tracks and the speed of your flows and stuff, like how did you discover all of that during this process?
I think it's just practice, honestly. When I started making music, to be honest, I couldn't really sing at all. I couldn't rap. Like I might as well just be like the average kid at the high school that thinks he can rap. Like I wasn't. I did it because I loved it, and I had previous music experience. I played piano for a while, so I guess I had a good ear. But in terms of like my delivery, my flow, my lyrics, it just wasn't like I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't there. But it was a lot of hard work. And even if my songs were bad, like I was very realistic. I was like, these are my first songs. Like the fact that they sound like all right is pretty good. So it's just practice. Like I've recorded over 200 songs. Like just maybe even more than 200, like 300. Like I've scrapped songs. I've just done it over and over again, hours every single day for almost 2 years. So that's kind of what gave me this, I guess, ability to rap like this and kind of write like this and all these everything. That's how everything comes together. Just practicing a lot.
Where do you feel like you struggle the most? Or not necessarily struggle, but what do you feel challenges you the most? Is it the rapping? Is it the songwriting? Is it the singing?
Um, I think what challenges me the most is probably one thing that gets in my head a lot is like my actual production quality, not on the beats, but just like the actual sound of the song. I get in my head thinking like I have to sound like a pop, like really really high quality stuff because I record in my studio, like my home setup. So I don't go to like an actual studio, because I feel like if you work at home, you work with your own tools and you craft the final sound. I feel like you have a lot more control. So I'm determined on kind of learning that myself. So that like the technical aspect, the stuff that like you kind of have to be taught. That's kind of what's my I guess the biggest challenge for me. But like musically, I think probably the singing. Like I wasn't. I mean, right now it seems like I have a good voice, but like there's still some stuff that I can't really get at. Like I'm talking crazy notes. But like every song, I'm trying to like push myself out my comfort zone. So like that's also picking up. But yeah, in my opinion, it's just the delivery. Like in my head, I feel like this is for other artists. Like in my head, I have an idea of how I want to sound, and it's just a matter of sounding how you have that in your head. Like you have a vision, and you just have to complete that. I think that's the challenge.
And when you have that specific vision for that particular song, and then you bring in a feature like you did with your mixtape, how do you go about that process? And how are you able, like, do you feel comfortable guiding someone into the direction that you have in mind, or do you kind of let them just do their thing and then eventually in post you do it your way?
Yeah. I mean, for any features, I've never told them like I want you talking like this, I want you sounding like that. I just let them do their thing. Um, like granted, I whenever I ask for a feature, they're usually an artist that I've listened to at least 10 of their songs. Like I know what they sound like, and I'm very sure of who I ask for on features because I don't really do. I mean, at least now, like I don't really drop that many songs with features on it unless I feel like like they're gonna kill it. Because on the album there's only 2 tracks out of the 9 that have features. Um, so I'm pretty picky with who I work with.
What was it about these artists that made you feel like they were the right fit for this debut? And what was that process like with them?
Yeah, I mean, one they're talented. I think they definitely deserve the numbers they're getting. But also, it's just like they're just people I respect. Like, I want to work with people that like that deserve my respect. And like Darius, for example, he's been working really hard, and he reminded me a lot of me. So I just kind of, I wanted to help out. Um, I mean, at the time I was a big artist, and I just feel like he deserved that help. And he was a dope kid. Like we went down and shot the Cash Out music video. It was like, I don't know. It's just nice having friends in the industry. And it's just kind of, it's way more fun making music with people you have a genuine connection to.
Since you kind of mentioned like the music video, your music videos are also sick as well. Like, so the process of the music video, are you fully involved with that as well, or do you let someone else take the reins when it comes to video shoots?
So my director, his name's Will. He kind of comes up with the I guess the storyboard or the general idea, just because I mean I'm not like I don't have any experience, so I wouldn't really know where to start, to be honest. But once we have that, we're gonna like I kind of come in and be like, no, I don't want that. Let's do this instead. Because like being an artist, I know what I want. Sorry, I know what I don't want rather than what I want. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's like I'd rather have something presented to me and then I can kind of edit it how I want it, rather than like me coming up with a full-on music video. Because that is pretty overwhelming.
And with these 9 tracks that you have on the mixtape, what track do you feel was the biggest challenge for you, either to write, to finalize, or to even record?
Probably Toxic Ends, which is the focus of the track, or sorry, of the project. Just because there was there's a lot of like different parts to it, and it was just
Do you feel like it was pressure because it was the title track?
yeah, like I knew that I needed a song that was gonna be like the song of the album. So it was just the pressure of that kind of, you know, it made it tough. And then also at the end when I was hitting those really high notes, that part was also challenging because I've never sang that high before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that was probably the challenge because it was like I was actually trying really hard on that track, as opposed to my others that came out naturally.
Right. Now, because you had those higher notes that did challenge you, do you feel like that also impacted your future writing? Do you feel like you consider those notes more now that you know that you could hit it?
Oh, 100%. I'm so glad I hit those. Like it's it's weird. Like you don't know what you're capable of until you do it,
Mm,
uh, which is really dope. Because like now I'm way more comfortable going that high. And I actually think it sounds cool. So
yeah.
it's just cool experimenting because you just learn out new stuff.
I feel like that's one of the challenges of like writing and producing and recording your own music, just because you kind of want that different ear to be there to tell you, hey, why don't you try this note a little higher? Why don't you try lowering this? But how do you challenge yourself in the studio as far as like stepping out of your comfort zone to try new things every time you record a new track?
Um, I mean, it's usually like how I write and how I record is like I would write out a song, have the melody in my head before I actually record it. So when I'm writing a song, I have no clue how hard it's going to be to record. Like Big Spending, like those notes, some of those notes were so high that I was like when I got on to record, I was like, wait, this is going to be way harder than I thought. Like, what am I doing? Like it's I feel like I challenge myself in the way that like I have no clue how hard or how I'm going to sound on the microphone because I have this melody in my head, but I'm not like I'm not I'm not rapping it or singing it while I'm writing. I'm just like writing in my head, so I don't really I don't know how hard it can be how easy it can be.
You do this all in your home studio. So for you personally, as an artist, as an independent artist, like what does it mean to be able to do something like from your bedroom and then having it have millions of streams like your music does right now on Spotify?
I feel pretty good. Like um, it's funny because my process hasn't changed at all. Like this is how I started making music, and it feels really good that like I haven't had to change any of my process. Like I didn't have to start going to big studios so I would make good songs. Like it was just me, my laptop, and my microphone.
Nice.
And I think with this music thing, I just love being self-sufficient and kind of independent. Um, one, because like I like I like raising my own expectations of myself, like making myself proud. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just, yeah, it feels good. I feel really accomplished. But I think there's still a lot more to accomplish.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations with the debut mixtape, Toxic Ends. Now, for those that will be listening to it or have listened to it for the first time, what is one thing that you would love for them to get out of this mixtape?
Um, one, I would suggest just play it in order. I know a lot of people just put it on shuffle, but like this album, it matters how it's played, and there is like a storyline. And it's actually the storyline is very related to my life, like actual events. So I would suggest just listening to it in order. And if you don't like a certain song, I mean, you can just skim through it, but like make sure like you hear it because it will make sense once you finish the album.